Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Diablo 4. As we jump into Season 10, it's time to talk about endgame progression and getting into your true build, unlocking Torment 4 and then really starting to blast. Everyone's talking about the Shadow Rift spam build that plays almost like it's Blood Surge, which instead you're spamming Soul Rift, which is really cool as a core skill. But the problem with that build is certainly not that it's weak, it's that it requires a specific unique chaos perk, turning your ultimate skills into a core skill and vice versa. You're going to need this, and that means you're going to need to kill Bartok 4 times, in the context of 666 Aether minimum to even summon him. So how are you going to be strong enough to do that in the first place, and in fact get Torment 4 unlocked? Well, I've got a build in between that, to build into the Soul Rift spam build, with lots of overlap that makes it nice and easy, and that's why there's 14 dudes stood behind me. This is the Skeleton Mage, the Archmage build, that focuses on absolutely pumping their damage with their machine gun style barrage that they can do. Through this, you're going to get tons of damage, tons of survivability, and a unique fun playstyle for a shadow summoner build. There is no warriors, there are no golems, and that's part of what makes this so interesting. Not an entirely new build for the game at all, but enhanced this season with fun stuff with the perks. Like with a Beast Cornered. For every 10% of your life missing, you're getting this stacking multiplier of damage and just straight up damage reduction. Combine that with Marred Guard and you have something really special. Cutting your health down by half, but then giving you max res to all elements, armor on a multiplier, and then massively increased barrier and fortification generation. Through that, you're protecting your small health pool, but you're getting these massive bonuses for being low health. All of your power goes directly into your minions now, directly powering up these shadow mages in a new way. But the thing that makes this build work is two things really: an aspect you'll have no problem getting, and then just one unique that you need to get. That is Hand of Naz, because it's going to basically say all of your warrior and golems not currently existing, we're going to give you more mages based on that. That's why I have 14 standing here. Combine that with a nice amuleted occult, well then you get an extra 3 on top, so going from 11 to 14. But then also the simple aspect of service and sacrifice. It kills your warriors while they're alive, but since we don't have any, it doesn't matter. Meanwhile, your skeletal mages take 90% less damage and deal up to 200% times increased damage as another multiplier. So we're all about those mages. I was playing it through Torment 1, 2 and 3 before I got my actual hands on the Hand of Naz, where then we pushed into Torment 4, no problem. So this build will serve as a great way to get you into Torment 4, get you nicely powering up, getting the resources, the uniques, and access to all the stuff you need, like the unique chaos perk, alter the balance we need for that Shadow Soul Rift build. And rather than just jumping over to that Soul Rift spam build, once I've actually reached the point that I can, I'm showing you what I did to get there. So let's break it down, cover all the aspects of the build so you can too. Let's start with the new stuff, the chaos perks. You do not need a Beast Cornered, but it's definitely going to help. By being lower health, you're getting increased damage, and by just having this on you get some straight damage reduction. Spending resources drains 1% of your health. It can never lower you below 10% life though. So this combined with that one popular rune, Quacks, casting a skill other than a basic or defensive consumes all your resources but increases your power for 1 second by 100%. This is just going to like tank your resource, smack you down to 10% health, but then you're protected by Beast Cornered, preventing you from going lower than 10%, and you're getting this massive damage bonus for every 10% life you're missing. So it's like this ridiculous power spike in that moment, as well as a nice damage increase in general at half life. This combined with Marred Guard then obviously is very important, because it's going to straight put you at half health to give you that benefit immediately. Then you're getting the benefits of max res, multiplier on armor, and the barrier and fortification generation that's protecting your health directly, so you're taking, barrier damage rather than health damage. Very important. Outside of that, we just have Accelerating Chaos, helping us reduce cooldowns, which is very important, trying to keep our Soul Rift up as much as possible for the barrier that provides as well. And then Defile the Dead, which is a really cool straight up perk. You can consume a corpse twice, which allows us to get our 2 buffs up, say Corpse Tendril Pull In and the benefits of that, say getting a raised skeleton or a skeletal priest for the buff of that, off of 1 corpse spawn. Very quickly that's going to synergize with the Paragon glyph that scales your damage based on the corpses around you. It's going to mean that there's double the potential of them because you're consuming them way less. Plus consuming corpses gives you unstoppable here and there, which is obviously really nice. Right, let's begin with a skill tree real quick. First up we have Reap, which is not a dead slot. This is because of Enhanced Reap. This gives us this attack speed little flat bonus, 30%, as we kill enemies affected by Reap. It's a nice 4-second buff. In the Paragon, you've got Cult Leader, which gives you this big damage bonus for each 20% of attack speed bonus that they have. They take from you, right? So your attack speed bonus goes into them. It caps at 100%. So there's just a really easy way to help you get to that very quickly. Next up we have Blight, all the way of course to Supernatural for the damage increase for us and the minions for those affected by it. We group enemies up and then apply Blight, or maybe single targets just going. Also here we have 3 Hued Flesh for the generation of corpses. Next we have the full Necrotic Fortitude for the barrier, very important. Titan's Fall for the elite damage. Spiked Armor for the straight armor we get, helping us get to the cap of that. We have 1 point into Grim Harvest. This is big essence generation as we constantly consume corpses. We're going to be ticking away at our own essence by consuming it through our runes as we showed. So it's a nice way to consistently get that. Anyway, Fuel by Death of course for the damage increase there. And then we have the 1 point in Bone Prison here to get it going. We got the Enhanced, so we put the Bone Prison on a group of enemies we just grouped up, make them vulnerable, increase damage, amazing. And then Dreadful is going to reduce our active cooldowns by ½ second per enemy trapped. So it's a nice 5-second cut off of our longer cooldowns, like Soul Rift. Down here then, we of course go to Decrepify into Abhorrent as usual for CDR, Amplify Damage for the cursed targets, we go full Death's Embrace for close, damage reduction and damage increase, full Precision Decay for lucky hit, and skill to Mage Mastery of course. I eventually have 1 point dead in the build, so I just pop it into a bit of movement speed. You could put this somewhere else if you want. Down here we have the Corpse Tendrils for the pull-in grouping up of enemies, obviously important. We go Blighted, not Played, because we have other sources of vulnerable, and this helps us heal, getting us to fortify and protecting our health. 1 little point goes into Necrotic Carapace to help generate Fortify from corpses. We have all our shadow skills from Reaper's Pursuit, Gloom, Terror, and then 1 point in Crippling Darkness just for the stun potential that has. Don't forget, the more darkness skills on your bar, the more movement speed and damage bonus you get from Reaper's Pursuit. And we get to the ultimate tree, where we of course go Soul Rift all the way to Supreme, making it a vulnerable gen, and the big barrier generation that it is, which is fantastic. We get a damage buff from Finality, 8 seconds after casting an ultimate skill, getting some nice crit from Inspiring Leader, and of course Hellbent Commander, big damage increase for our summoned minions. For the key passive, of course it's Callan's Edict, further giving them attack speed, helping us with Cult Leader even more. There comes a point when you have pretty much too much attack speed because you're no longer getting that benefit of over 100%. But all of these like little increases stack into the build early when you're undergeared and don't have all the perfect affixes. But it would be something to clean up long term for sure. Next, let's talk about Book of the Dead, because there's a few options here. The thing that you will not change is your scale to mages will be Shadow with upgrade 1. Increased damage for each active Shadow Mage, and we have 14 of these dudes, so it's quite a lot. Right, for the conversational stuff, we have Warriors. You want to sacrifice Reapers. This is giving you increased Shadow damage. Obviously, that's a big deal for my Shadow Mages. But when we're trying to progress into the early endgame, we're really undergeared, we're under the armor cap, we're under the resistance cap. Necromancers just get to sacrifice their defenders for a straight 25% all res flat increase. It's ridiculous. So if you need any all res because you're under cap, you should be running this instead of the damage increase. But as soon as you have the resistance you need, you definitely want to sacrifice Reapers because it's better. Next we have Golem. Your option is Bone or Iron. Bone is going to give you that attack speed, further helping Cult Leader, getting to the 100%. If you're below that, you want this. Your alternative to that will be Bone for the increased critical strike damage of course, as the usual pickup. Alright, here we go with the Paragon. It's a pretty funny one. I've got 1 glyph right now, but obviously it doesn't matter because I'm in Torment 4. The reason for this is the big bonuses to all of the legendary nodes, like picking up Cult Leader earlier than normal, getting Scent of Death for the important damage reduction and crit strike damage, or going for Flesh Eater, which is a massive damage modifier that since the last season a bit ago, they made it so you can maintain this buff like permanently throughout a run instead of losing it and getting it back. So it's amazing. And then of course Frailty, that's a big damage bonus for each second that enemies are cursed, which they always are, especially the single target. These are big damage bonuses. 40% times. 40% times. Let's take an example here of Dead Razor. After 10 seconds, you're going to reach 15% times. Obviously that's good, but it's not 40% times. So at this point, I feel like the legendary nodes are just so potent that just rushing them in this way is actually more early power than otherwise going for all the glyphs and slowly setting them up. Because obviously they're going to be better when you've got them all set up, but you don't have the points in the first day of play like me right now. We got the starting board where I've got Dead Razor, easy to get the 40 intelligence even if you've not got the extra area, and spent my points like this. Then we come to the second board, which is Cult Leader, rotated so I could get through it ASAP. As you can see, I'm now beginning to come this way up the top to go through Skeletal Mage perks and Summoner attack speed and damage perks to get to the Glyph socket. For the third board, we have Scent of Death for the big damage reduction, rotated like so, just to get through it really quick. This gets us near to some nice damage reduction and resistance to all elements on the way, as well as armor on this node here. Bring us down to the next one, Flesh Eater, rotated like so we can get quickly through it. Coming by some max life perks as well. As you come down this way, you also come by some more resistance to all elements nodes, which is really helpful. Finally, we get to the last board, Frailty, rotated like so to get to it as fast as possible. Once again, more resistance to all elements and armor options are here. But obviously I'm going to need to sort these glyphs now. For that, I'm going to work in Amplify, Gravekeeper for all the extra corpses. We'll go Essence for the crit strike damage. We obviously have Dead Razor. And then there's options of Abyssal and Eliminator. Eliminator will be easier to get going early though, and will be great for your elite damage. Right, let's look at the gear that I've got. As I said in the intro, one unique is something that's going to really push this build fast, though I was running without it for a while. So that unique is Hand of Naz, which is giving us this very important increase the amount of skeletal mages we can have, getting us up to 14 with the right setup. Further increasing their damage by modifier and giving you important affixes like the max life, attack speed, skeletal mage mastery, and the skeletal mage damage. All of that is just phenomenal. The cherry on top is Blood Moon Breaches. Everything we're dealing with is cursed, and as summons will also apply Decrepify and Iron Maiden, which is super nice. This increases the damage we deal to the cursed targets through crit strike damage. Plus, it gives you Hellbent commander levels, curse levels, and crit strike chance. So those are the two uniques I have right now. Obviously the Ring of Mendeln will be great too, and I will be dropping Frenzied Dead when I no longer need this attack speed, which is pretty much now at this point, to further increase their damage. Let's run through the aspects otherwise. We have Blood Getters, Skeletal Priest now also empower us, and then that goes back into the minions. We have Hardened Bones for the damage reduction, of course, the uniques we just highlighted. Cursed Aura, so that I don't have to apply Decrepify myself manually, it's fantastic. On the weapon, we have Service and Sacrifice, very important. This is giving us a massive damage reduction, 90% less damage taken for the mages, and massive increasing their damage. On the amulet, we've got Occult because we want to get as many mages as possible. That gets us up to 14. Then we have the rings, Reanimation. As long as they're alive for 10 seconds or more, they get this big damage bonus. And then Frenzied Dead for the big attack speed bonus, getting us for that cult leader and all those benefits there. But obviously you're going to want to drop this once you've got enough attack speed in the build to reach cult leader 100% consistently. I would probably drop this for Ring of Mendeln if I had it. Let's talk about the affixes. For your defensive slots, you care about having all res and the armor cap. That's your number one priority. Outside of that, Intel Max Life. So in this case, I have armor with that Intel Max Life. On the chest, I've got Intel Max Life and specific resistances. All res will be better, to be fair, but it's what I've got. Obviously, the uniques can't really worry about the affixes. For the boots, I've got Intel, armor, and resistance to all elements. Very important to get as much of this as possible. For the weapon, we have Intel Max Life, and the GA I got was crit strike damage. That's pretty lucky. On the amulet, we have Intel Max Life and then something. I happen to roll Death's Embrace. Obviously, you're going to want Hellbent Commander, ideally. But anything that's going to increase your damage from what you find early in the season, that's going to be great. For the rings, we've got Intel Max Life and attack speed, trying to get to that 100%. You can also get element-specific stuff here if you're desperate though, so consider it over Intel and Max Life if you need to. Next is Tempering. Something fun you can do with the Necromancer is get armor on a defensive roll instead of this max life, right? And then spiked armor levels. Spiked armor is giving you a multiplier, so it's increasing the amount of armor you have per level, but it's a multiplier as well. So it's unbelievably good for getting armor cap, even in Torment 4. Getting extra levels there, super nice, especially early. So if this was armor and spiked armor, that'd be a lot of bonus armor. So on my chest piece, sadly I didn't roll that, but it was what I was looking for. Otherwise total armor. On the boots, we have the movement speed, which is nice, and then that spiked armor roll. Otherwise, you could go more defensive here if you need even more armor. On the weapon, we have Skeletal Mage Mastery and Titan's Fall, helping us deal with elites, and in general, Skeletal Mage damage, most important thing. For the jewelry then, your amulets, your rings, you want Skeletal Mage Mastery and ultimate cooldown reduction to help us maintain Soul Rift uptime. For Masterworking, let's be honest, this early, day one, as I'm making this video, you just masterwork everything as far as you can. And if it hits the wrong thing, oh well. Those increases are going to give you, the attack speed we need for those breakpoints. It's going to help you with maybe resistances and armor. It's way more important than hitting the specific correct thing. Getting everything 8 out of 8 is better than like some things being 4 out of 8, but it rolled correctly, and then most of the things not being masterwork because you ran out of resources. However, you hit the thing that you most need. Like if I need armor on defense, then that's what I'll go for. If it's resistance to all elements, then that's what I'll go for. More interesting is on the offensive slots like the unique. We'd want Skeletal Mage Mastery levels here. Skeletal Mage damage isn't bad though. We'd want Hellbent Commander levels here. We'd want Skeletal Mage damage here, or Titan's Fall, to be fair, wouldn't be bad. We'd want Skeletal Mage damage here, across the jewelry. So that's the masterworking. Let's talk runes and gems. Intel in everything you can, then we use the remaining 4 slots for our runes. I have Sem Zek, reducing your active ultimate cooldown by 1 second as I evade. You might have something that's better than me for generating offering. There's one that's a legendary that actually just gives you offering for having minions alive, up to 6 of them. That's the best thing we could possibly hope for. But it's a legendary, don't have it yet. So you run the thing that's just going to give you reliable offering. I find for that, the evade one's super easy. Otherwise, the more important combo is Seer Quackseer. Casting skills generates offering, easy. And then when you trigger this, the next other basic or defensive consumes all your primary resource for a nice 100% damage increase for 1 second. With our setup with the Chaos perks, this will put me to 10% life, but not below it. And I've got all this barrier and fortification generation anyway, so I'm protected. And in fact, being lower health is a damage increase. But you just got to be careful with that one. Last up for Mercenaries. I have Rahir as the main one for the very familiar early season setup of Rahir's Aegis, so you got the 50% all res benefit, and then Inspiration, giving us a damage increase for the Ground Slam. This under Bastion gives you a nice safety bubble, and Ground Slam's just going to be a slam on the ground that enemies within are going to take more damage from. And if we stand in that Bastion, we're also getting a nice damage increase. He's a great early pick as usual. The second for that, I've gone for Yana with Bloodthirst. She gets a lot of attack speed and movement speed, which is nice, but we get 10% flat attack speed for the same duration, further helping Cult Leader early on. So that is the build for an early get you through Torment to Torment 4 setup, to allow you to kill Bartok with 666 Aether no problem, to do all of the content necessary to start grinding out all the unlocks and benefits that you're going to need to transition into the Soul Rift build, which I will be back to cover very soon. I hope this overview gave you the tools you need though to blast through Torment levels and get into a strong position for that. So until then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and I'll see you for the Soul Rift build.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.